Hey there, we're Shannon and Jerry Arner, your hosts of the Arner Adventures podcast.
We're a minimalist couple driven by intentional living and adventure.
Burned out from the 24/7 grind of running our business, we traded the hustle and the bustle for something more meaningful.
We parted ways with most of our belongings and moved to the coast.
Listen along as we chat about life's challenges, share inspiring stories of those who have taken big leaps to live a life outside of the norm,
and help you live with more intention and less physical and mental clutter.
Each episode is a step toward doing and being just a little bit better for ourselves and the world around us.
Life's an adventure after all. Join us for the ride.
It's the Arner Adventures podcast. Hello, everybody. This is Jerry.
And this is Shannon.
And we are back for episode 187 of the Arner Adventures podcast.
Yes. We hope that you are enjoying these sort of shorter episodes that we think are, to the point, helpful. Sometimes we get questions based off of our lifestyle, different things, and we'll direct people to our website where we have a plethora of resources. But some people just want to listen to something. There are plenty of podcasts I have in my rotation that I never go to their website. I just listen. And sometimes I'm like, I like with the little short and sweet episodes that are helpful. So we thought, well, let's just have some of these, especially through the summer. So we hope that these are something that you all enjoy. And if there's something that you want to know more about, just let us know. Send us a message, DM, whatevs.
I love seeing when a podcast is shorter because I know they're going to get to the point in 20 minutes. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, just because it's warming up outside doesn't mean you stop being cozy. You just get strategically cozy.
And that's where Cozy Earth comes in. Their bamboo sheets, total game changer, especially if you're a hot sleeper like some of us.
They're literally temperature regulating, so you can sleep like it's springtime in the mountains, even if it's actually sweaty Carolina coast outside.
And they've got more than sheets. Shannon's basically living in a resort robe and loungewear these days.
Guilty, because if I can be comfy and look like I could check into a spa any moment, I'm in.
And everything's made from sustainable materials, so it's better for you and the planet.
So here's the deal. Head to arneradventures.com/cozyearth, that's all one word, Cozy Earth, to save 40% off site-wide. Sheets, loungewear, robes, whatever cozy you're craving, now's the time.
Because sweating through your sheets is not the vibe.
It is not. We're adults who've earned our chill. Again, that's arneradventures.com/cozyearth. Go get your cozy sustainably. Well, today is something that is not probably a new topic, but we've never really gotten to the point probably this much. But a lot of people talk about needs versus wants, and it's really hard for some people to distinguish between the two. So we're going to talk about things that you don't actually need. Real true needs versus wants, so that you can learn a little bit more through our experience and what we have done and how we're able to sort of look at that needs versus wants, some of the helpful tips that we have, and hopefully it's helpful for you.
Yeah, and on the way we're going to have a little bit of fun. So
a little fun along the way.
Yeah, so here we go.
Yeah.
When we decided to downsize our lives, we weren't just talking about square footage or closet space. We were peeling back years of shoulds, pressure, and normal that didn't feel like ours. Somewhere along the way, what we thought were needs turned out to be noise, loud, stressful, expensive noise.
I love that because all this stuff is noisy inside of your brain,
Uh-huh.
It really is.
The only noise I like is really good music.
That's right.
Yeah. Or sounds of the ocean as a background to my really good music. We used to think that we were just being responsible and staying on top of things and doing what adults do. You know what the kids do doing what adults do now?
What?
Adulting.
Okay.
Yeah. But turns out a lot of what we were chasing felt more like noise once we stepped back.
Yeah, it's true. It's like if you're when your browser, you have all these tabs open. It's like if your brain had 72 tabs open, you know exactly what we're talking about. It's like, it's noise. It's just clutter in your brain,
And these days it's easy to get caught up in that because the noise is available wherever you go.
Yeah, that's true.
What we thought were needs, but weren't. Pretty simple. Let us share with you what we thought were needs, but looking at it with a different lens, we now know they were not.
Right. So the first thing, it was the first thing we sold was our house.
Yeah.
So a big house with rooms that collect dust. Okay. So, especially if you're American listening to us, you know, the American dream is the white picket fence around a house, and you've got a room for this, a room for this, and just the big house that you may or may not need. So what we started thinking was we have all this space that we're not using. Do you remember when you used to say about our primary bedroom, you would say, we could live in this room.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it was bigger than our house that we moved to in Beaufort, that bedroom.
It was, yeah.
It was like we had all this space for like a just in case somebody visited, or just in case we needed it someday. Let's have all these just in case moments, but they rarely came. It's like when you think about the bills, the maintenance, the upkeep that's constant, you have to judge whether or not it's worth it, right? When you let it go, you may realize that you're not losing comfort. You gain peace. In our house, and again, some of the things that we're talking about here is just for you to assess your situation. We do realize our lifestyle is not for everyone, but we're just encouraging you that whether you are a couple without kids, whether you're a solo dweller, maybe you're a couple that are empty nesters, and all of a sudden you still have this house with empty rooms. You don't need to change it into something. Like we changed a guest room into my closet, which was
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then your room, we made it into just kind of like a man cave, but then we also had a garage that was sort of that way. So
Yeah.
it was like, what are we doing with this space just because we have it? So just maybe assess your space and go, is this a need? Is it just a want? And if it's something that's just a want, well, does it cause you stress? Is it more upkeep than is necessary?
Yeah, that's true. And Shannon, just to add, we have made our outdoor area where we live now more inviting. We work on that all the time. We have great outdoor space. And that was easier done living in a smaller space.
You are so right.
Yeah, we made the outside a draw. Like we're sort of drawn to our outdoor area and keeping our inside space more simple.
That
There's
is
not,
so true.
not as much to pay attention to inside, so we can go outside.
Yeah, that's true.
So the next thing was saying yes to everything. We thought being agreeable and saying yes was the right thing to do, especially when we were running our own business. Clients, events, social invites, and helping hands. Yes. Until we hit burnout and realized saying yes to everyone else was saying no to ourselves.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like you can't stay on top of your mental health. And I know that when I was saying yes, I was feeling like I needed to say yes. It definitely wasn't a want. I usually dreaded it. I
Yeah.
dreaded attending those events. I dreaded that I had volunteered to do this over and over again. I felt like it was a need. I'm like, I
Yeah.
need to say yes to this, because what's going to happen to the business if I don't interact as much, or
Yeah.
if we're not known as the helpful community business or
Yeah.
whatever. But then you realize, no, that is actually a want. You don't think you do, but it's definitely not a need. You have to change that mindset for saying yes. And we do have an episode that we did recently on the rules for saying yes.
Yeah, that's true. And if you say yes to everything, you sort of present a watered down version of yourself. You're probably
Yes.
doing too much. You're not taking care of yourself as well. And the best way to help others, help your community, is by taking better care of yourself initially. And then you have more quality version of yourself to
To go
I
around.
was going to say spread around, but that doesn't sound good. That sounds like you're doing too much. You're spreading around. But
That's true.
Got to take care of yourself first. Yeah.
The next thing that when you're looking at needs versus wants is notifications. So if you're thinking about the notifications that you get on your phone, your laptop, whatever it is, notifications all day, every day. There was a time when our phones were extra limbs, email, social media, text, news alerts. We needed to respond to everything immediately. With all that being available, and I'm using my finger quotes, being available, it was just constant interruption. So the silence now feels really luxurious. It feels really nice. And so you have to, again, assess that. Like, are we surgeons saving babies here? I would assess that most of our listeners are not. So I would say you don't need to have those notifications on all the time. If there's an emergency going on in your life and you're like, okay, I need to have my notifications on right now, fine. But we don't all need our notifications on all the time. That's a want. You think it's a need, but it's not. It's a want. Being unavailable is one of the best decisions that we've ever made. I cannot think of a time, Jerry, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that since we started going do not disturb, turning a bunch of notifications off, that we have missed something that has been detrimental.
I can't either. No, it usually turns out for the better, and
Right.
95% of the time anyway. I'm sure there's
Right.
always that one thing, but for the most part, I
Yeah.
mean, it's you get hung up on things you just think you need. I'm coming back to an analogy from several years back when we pulled the plug on cable, and you have those first thoughts. I was like, oh, my ESPN? How can I live with my ESPN? Well, I have lived just fine without my ESPN, and in fact, it's freed up a lot more time for me to do more important things.
Yeah, and I was that way about Bravo. Now I can't even tell you any time I've been like, I need Bravo. Like, not at all.
Right.
It's crazy to think about what we thought we needed,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as far as needs versus wants, you might feel like you need to buy to feel better. I think that's ingrained in a lot of people's minds. It just becomes habit. I'm going to buy something. I'm going to feel good. Retail therapy, sale, FOMO.
Do you know what that is, Jer?
I don't.
We did this on another episode too.
Well, no, and I'll remember.
All of our listeners know what this is. It's the fear of missing out.
Okay, yeah.
Sales that people fear. So a lot of times people will go, into a shop. Sometimes they've never even been in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it will say that it's on sale, and like a pair of sunglasses. Gosh, well, I have to get these sunglasses because what if I miss that on this sale? Do you need sunglasses? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Impulse purchases is what we're talking about here.
That's what we're talking about. And I just made it clear to everyone that I'm reading from a script.
We have notes, guys. We do have notes so that we can stay on track.
Sure. Yeah, so this all feels like a tiny high until we noticed how much space all that stuff was taking up in our home and in our heads.
Yeah.
We used to think we needed things to feel better. Now we reach for a quiet time outside or just breathing room.
Yeah. And Jerry and I were having this conversation this morning that I was talking with someone recently who was talking about how much money they had spent shopping recently.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to compare it to the amount of hours they had worked. And it sort of negated the amount of hours they had worked. And I remember doing that, like not thinking. And something that really helps, and you may have heard this before, you may have not, if you feel like you need something, you feel like you need to buy something, put it in I'm guessing it's a digital cart. I'd say don't ever just buy in person without thinking about it. But if you're at home and you're putting something in a cart to buy it, let it sit there for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And if you're just like, you know what? No, we really need that whatever. It really is a need. Okay. Or if it's going to bring quality to your life somehow and you can rationalize it not rationalize it because we can rationalize anything. But if it makes sense to your lifestyle and, you don't feel terrible about it and it's not an impulse buy, then do it. But it's the clicking and the add to cart or go ahead and click to buy now or whatever that we always feel like is a need, and it's not. You really just have to start putting some mindfulness into your purchases.
Yeah, that's right. I got a good example of that from when I was younger. I was a younger person in these days. I worked at a North Raleigh restaurant, and I lived within walking distance. So at the end of the night, from my workplace to my home, there was like 3 very fun sort of pubs on the way home. So you work as a server and a bartender in a restaurant, you have a pocket full of cash. So what I would do on my walk home, I'd say, that's always a fun place to talk to people. Let me go in there. And I would shop for a cold draft beer. And I'd talk to people, and that was fun. And I'd walk down the road, and there's the next place I go, there's another good opportunity to shop for a cold draft beer. And I would do that the next one, and then the next one I would get home, and yes, I'd have fun time and I socialized, but I realized that half the money I had just pulled in on tips was gone because I didn't have the option after the cold beer was poured of saying, well, let me think about that for 24 hours.
No,
So
you're
typically
right.
I would have to didn't have to, but I felt encouraged to drink it right then.
Well, Jarrett's sort of similar too to buying
Mm-hmm.
coffee in the mornings
Uh-huh.
out.
Yeah.
It's like especially in the summer, I like a cold iced coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never that way in the winter, but in the summer I am. Well, I have found instead of going up to the store and buying it right then because you can't sit it in a cart and think about it.
Yeah.
Now with our groceries, add it from the grocery store and
Mm-hmm.
sit it in the cart and go, okay, does that make sense? And if it's on sale, a lot of times it does make sense.
Yeah.
And think about the amount of money you're saving. So yeah, I can see where that wouldn't work. But nowadays we do put it in the cart of the grocery like a beer.
Yeah.
Instead of just going bar to bar. But that is a good thing to bring up.
Right. I thought so.
And another thing about eating out, it's like if you don't, when we talked about this before too, if you don't plan, and this is becoming more about money than it is things you don't, but that's true, things you don't actually need. When you're thinking about eating out or getting takeout or whatever, it's usually an impulse thing. You haven't planned for your dinners or you haven't planned, and then you go, well, let's just get takeout. And a lot of times if you get takeout from a local restaurant, DoorDash it, whatever, ends up being like $50.
Yeah.
And you go, gosh, if I planned for that same meal at the grocery store, it would have been half of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes even a fourth of it.
Yeah. Well, we found that we really like preparing our food anyway. And I think, I mean, I've probably realized this for a long time, but I've realized it more and more as I get older. I like creative outlets, and food is just one easy way to be creative. I mean, there's always something you can do creatively when you're making food,
Yeah.
So it's just a fun thing to do, make food at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another thing that we've talked about in other episodes, a need versus want, is the perfect aesthetic. So there's a weird pressure, especially online, social media, it's very curated, to have your home looking curated too, your outfits looking curated, your makeup, whatever it is. But we have found freedom in letting that go. I will tell you 100%, and I've talked about this before, have sort of emulated the way that we want our home sanctuary to be after this book that I read called Surf Shack. We have it here actually still because I still use it as like a reference guide. Surf Shack is a book that sort of inspired us before we even changed our lifestyle. I was like, I just want this, not only the aesthetic, but I want the vibe of my home being my sanctuary near the ocean that makes me want to also be outside, but the inside having no pressure. I do use that as sort of a guide. I'll look at it sometimes and it will inspire me to actually get rid of things.
Yeah.
So if you've got an inspiration or an aesthetic that you strive to have that helps you rid of things, of decluttering your space, I'm all for it. If it's a book that from Architectural Digest of a designer that makes you feel like you need to buy more things to make your space perfect, which finger quotes perfect, I would say try to work on letting that go. That's definitely a want, not a need.
By the way, that Surf Shack is a cool book.
I love it.
Yeah, and we don't have many coffee table books, but that book looks cool sitting on the little thing that it sits on. And we've also noticed it in other people's Instagram feeds. Sometimes you go, hey, look what's in the background. They got Surf Shack.
You're so right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, a couple times you pointed it out. Yeah, it's really cool. Well, moving along here, what we've chosen instead, we didn't just subtract the noise. We replaced it with things that support us. We have said multiple times that decluttering or transitioning to our minimalist life did not happen overnight. We had to figure out what we felt like ourselves again. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, it wasn't fancy habits or a perfect morning routine. It was slow mornings without our phones glued to our hands, saying nope when something didn't feel right, doing things because they helped, not because they looked good on paper, having actual breathing room, physically and mentally, not being reachable every second of the day, and not apologizing for it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that a couple things kind of resonate for me is you need, this is a need to be able to say no. Make sure that you practice it. It's something I practice. If I know I have to have a conversation with someone, look, I don't always love it, but I will practice it in my head and I won't apologize for it. It's not going to be something that I'm going to say anymore. I'm so sorry, I can't help you with that. It's more like, no, that actually doesn't work with my schedule. Or, no, that's really not for me. And no is a complete sentence. But I would say everyone needs to be able to say no. And you also need time that you're not available. I mean, those are the two things I think that we have really worked on and we're still working on. And it really is about intentional living. It's about, feeling good, even feeling content with things. It's not about being perfect, perfectly balanced, zen 24/7. It's about making choices that support our sanity. And that's it. No aesthetic required. You'll start to realize once you start living with more intention for yourself what are truly needs and what are true wants.
Well, yeah, and living in a fast-paced culture, and you do have to be more intentional about picking and choosing the things that support yourself, your mental, your physical health and whatnot, instead of just going, oh boy, these modern times are tough to live in. There are ways to combat these things, the culture and the pace of things. You just have to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the idea that letting go isn't losing. We used to think we'd miss the noise. Turns out we don't. When we finally made space, physically, mentally, all of it, we realized we've been tuning out our gut. Now we trust our intuition. Suppose any of this feels a little too familiar. No need to blow up your life tomorrow. Just start noticing what's draining you. Yeah, sometimes questioning the so-called need is the first fundamental shift. If it feels heavy, performative, or like something you're carrying for someone else, it could be noise.
Yeah, I love the description about all of the clutter we talk about. Physical clutter turns into mental clutter, but I like describing it as noise because that feeling.
Yeah.
Going into someone's home, going into an environment that may not be noisy audibly, but it is noisy.
Yeah. And I think it's a good way to describe it too, because then people go, it is noise. And nobody likes too much noise.
No.
Everybody, I think, likes their quiet. Or if it is noise, they want pleasant noise like the ocean sound or good soft music. Yeah. So when you put it in those terms, noise, yeah, it's noisy in here. And it might be perfectly quiet, but meaning there's just a lot of clutter.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we don't want any of our episodes to make you feel down about yourself or down about your situation. We hope that this information inspires you. And again, we know our lifestyle isn't for everyone. We just want to talk about these baby steps that really help with these shifts in making your life feel more ease. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do, is just to live a more full life, an easier life. Life is hard. So we're trying to make it where your home or your environment or your mindset or whatever it is, as we're working on things, we try to talk about it so that we hope that all the things we're working on and that have been successful for us are helpful for you. And if it creates any kind of a positive shift, that's what we want to do.
And if I can reference a Seinfeld from years ago, I remember that once, I think maybe it was probably Elaine, was getting on Jerry about how he had to be so neat and precise with everything in his apartment. And he said, you want your home to be that way. He said, out there, everything's messy. So you want to be in your home, you want everything the way you want it.
That's true.
Because it's messy out there.
Life is hard enough.
Yeah. If this episode resonated with you, or if you know of someone who would benefit from what we talked about, please share it with a friend.
It's a great way of supporting the podcast, and we really appreciate it.
Another way of supporting the pod is by leaving us a 5-star review or rating on the platform you are listening to us on.
And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That also supports us. You can always find us, the show notes, and sponsors who support the podcast at arneradventures.com.
And until next time, enjoy the journey you're on. We're wishing you lots of adventures.
Bye-bye.